What is up, guys? So here we are with Valheim on the MacBook Air M3, and so as you can see the performance is 45 FPS. It's relatively good, but the MacBook Air is cool, right? So this is more what you'll experience on a MacBook Pro M3, or if they had a Mac Mini M3, if you will, but the MacBook Air doesn't cool, as you all know. So over time in this video you will see performance drop and drop and drop, and it will drop so hard actually that it's not that different from the M2 or even the M1 MacBook Air, and so you really gotta keep that in mind with these videos of the MacBook Air. Like, they are not cooled and they can put in a M6, a M8 or a M10, but it sucks so much energy. It will take generations before you really see a better performance over time, right? So we are now 36 FPS, and as you can see in the graph, right, the frequency, right, the GPU, it says 1.30 gigahertz right now. It's a 1.40 gigahertz GPU, and now it says 0.9 actually now. So that's really what you're looking at. It's lowering the performance to keep the computer cool, right? Now it's the same for the M2 and to an extent even the MacBook Air M1, right? So it's just the difference is the M1 and the M2 start with a lower base FPS when it's still cool, but they drop to roughly the same. Like, in the end this is only 1 or 2 FPS better than the M2, which is sad to see, but anyway, it's still a fun game. And you just saw a little glimpse of my the town that we built, and so that's also, it's a little bit hard on performance, but it is realistic because you are gonna build a town, right? And as you can see right now we are below 30 FPS, 24 FPS, and if you look at the GPU clock speed, you'll see that it's 0.8, 0.6, 0.7. It's very low. It's running half speed right now, right? So half the maximum speed, and yeah, that's the thing. I'm actually gonna make video about it. 22 FPS, guys, like, this is crazy. I believe this is actually worse than the M1, and I'm actually gonna make video about it, comparing it, because the M1 had a power thermal design of like 10 watts, and then the M2 of 20 watts, and the M3 of, I believe, also 20 watts, and the M4 22 or 25 watts. So the new MacBook Air M4, it sounds really good, but it's only really good in short bursts, right? And that's why Apple does it. Most people that buy it are not gonna game on it or do long projects. They get the MacBook Pro. But you might think like, oh, it's the same as the MacBook Pro, but yes, but mostly no. And in games you can really see this, like, the performance is bad. But it is what it is, because if you look at the temperatures, it's an average of like 78, which is really, it's crispy, it's hot, it's not what I'd like, and obviously it's not what Apple likes, because, you know, it's running at half speed now, the GPU, and even the CPU, it's running much lower than it can, right? But yeah, that's about it, and I'll show you the settings, by the way, in a second. I always use the same settings for the M1, M2, M3 and M4 on Valheim 1080p, and by the way, this is 1200p, but because of the screen size it's not too big of a deal. But I use the same settings because these chips are made for 1080p at most, right? They just cannot deal with high resolutions. They can barely deal with this, and so it's a fair comparison, and it's that same tone as well. Like, here are the settings that I use. I use medium settings, native resolution, because it looks bad otherwise, and yeah, that's really it. It looks pretty decent, and it's the best performance that you can get out of the game without it looking absolutely atrocious. So that's why I go for these settings. And but yeah, it is. I am really disappointed in that. I've gotta be honest. I don't know what Apple's plan is with this. Apple's plan, like, just keep adding more power. Is it gonna go the same as Intel in the long run? I sure hope not, because I think 25 watts is really the maximum for these laptops, because they are not cooled, and I can see the benefits for short workloads, like launching apps and doing a quick Photoshop or something, but yeah, it's gotta stop somewhere, right? You cannot push the power forever without cooling. It needs to get performance from somewhere else. By the way, it's a spooky place, and yeah, that's the last of it, really. So guys, I hope you liked it. If you are hoping to play Valheim on a MacBook Air, any MacBook Air, you're gonna have a bad time. The game is poorly optimized. Alright, bye bye!